finally passed this job search period. I believe you watched this video maybe after a day, a week, or a month, or 2, 3 months from starting your new job. You're going through a not easy period of adaptation inside the company, during which many things can happen. For example, you're not accepted by the team or your colleagues. Maybe one of the managers does not accept you. You matched perfectly with the person that hired you, but not the manager, which you started having conflict with. There could be a situation where you agreed and came to do one job, but when you got there, you were asked to do a totally different job. This is a type of story that happens most frequently. In the feedbacks, people say that they went to work to do one thing, but ended up doing something else. Moreover, the load of work that they were asked to do was 10 times more than what they have agreed to initially. Many different things can happen, and that is why it is important during this adaptation period in the company. You assess whether the company invests in you or distances itself from you. You need to assess the extent of involvement of your bosses, managers, colleagues, and people you will cooperate in performing some joint functions. Are they interested in showing and explaining to you how things work in the company, so you get a deeper understanding of it? It is very important how much your intermediate supervisor invests in you, how much he or she is interested in what is happening with you, what questions does he or she ask you, does he or she ask you questions at all? A more important thing is what questions do you ask? It is a determining factor. If you remember, when we were preparing for the interview, we used reverse questions. These questions are very powerful and filled with energy. Please remember those questions. They are useful not only during interviews. For example, if you come to find out how you can install the third in row new production line or do something else in the production department, ask questions in the same way that you did during the interview. Strong, with reverse, and with energy. Based on your questions, people will be observing your motivation and energy that flows into what you do. By asking questions, you are going to support the direction of the energy. In the end, this energy will break all the barriers that need to be broken. This is important. You see, not only at the job search stage, the things that we went through, they will work. They will help you in the future. Just apply them further in your work. Use the approach of leading. During the interview, you were the one that conducted and led the interview. At work, the same thing applies. Don't be passive. Lead the way. Because initially, when people start adapting in the new company, they are under euphoria. That's it. I settled down and it's all over. But in fact, it all just starts. Everything that was shown in the interview, all this activity, determination, swiftness, energy, all that, needs to be multiplied 10 times or 100 times and turn it into real action. This is just the start. If the team does not accept you, remember we were working on our life lessons. We had a topic when we were doing the CV, and we looked at what lessons life taught us by looking back. Now you have this magical here and now moment in the same way. You're now going through certain difficulties at this job. You collide with someone or even become enemies. You don't get along with someone and you can find a common ground with someone else. When we were writing our CVs in terms of the lessons, we looked at them and made conclusions based on how we understand them today. By diving into our past and our past jobs, we answered the questions. What was the learning from that past situation? But you have a job right here and right now. You take the situation by saying, okay, there is a misalignment here. What is my learning? What can I fix here and now? So you don't need to wait for a long time to pass until you become conscious of the situation. And what was the lesson to be learned and why this difficult situation was given to you? The situation is given to you so you can pass the lesson just now. Do not put it off for many years. Realize this lesson at the moment it happens, and everything will be fine. Then, as they say, the train is moving and you're fixing everything right there. Fasten the wheels right along the way and go further. This approach is much better than when half of the train is already damaged and you're trying to think in hindsight what wheels needed to be attached. If you find it challenging and understand that this is not your story, or the owner's demands changed, or for example, the American company you work for has been bought by the Chinese or Chinese by the American, and you don't know what to do because all the atmosphere has changed, you can give us a call for advice. But usually it takes around 3 months for people to adjust to their new workplace. It's a good time to ask questions about how things work and try to be as quick as possible through this period and get to the state where you feel like fish in the water that can freely and easily swim inside the business. If you work very hard in these first 3 months and understand how things work in depth, then it will be much easier for you to find common ground with someone and resolve situations. Everything will go smoothly if you're too lazy at the beginning. Then you are an absolutely clear candidate for departure. You will not survive there for long. Another important point. Look at the situation from a higher perspective. Do you take less than expected initiative and action? Or is there too much initiative and action that your colleagues cannot digest? You need to balance the situation. Keep in mind that in case there is too much initiative from your side, as well as readiness to change everything in the company, hire new personnel, alter all the processes to lead the company to a brighter future. Many owners and managers won't be ready for such radical changes. Often people coming from big business take a checker. Let this mouse be like a checker. Take it and say, well, I'm from big business. I'll build everything right here for you. I know how to do it right. I know how a spacecraft called General Electric works. I'm sure I can manage your business. Now we are going to redo everything quickly. And they're ready to slice and dice everything, which frightens the owners. Not because they're afraid of changes, no. Then when people leave these companies, and this happens very often, they call and say, I wanted to make such and such changes, but the owner was not ready for these changes, and so on. The problem is not the unpreparedness of the owner. The problem is that people are not aware of the boundaries of their actions. What steps and to what extent is the owner ready to take for these changes? One owner will move in small steps and eventually arrive to some global changes. The other will move in bigger steps and arrive to changes faster. People are completely unaware that if they are used to taking such big steps in terms of changes, and the owner here is ready to take such small steps, then the owner probably has his own reasons for making these careful and slow changes in his business. If your role is leading, generative, strategic, determining in this organization, then you definitely need to coordinate your actions with the owner. Coordinate this tempo rhythm with the owner every day. So there is constant match with the owner in terms of the tempo rhythms of changes. Don't lose track of what is happening, because suffering from gigantism, with such globalism, I will arrange gigantic changes for them, is not going to help anyone. Owners are unable to digest it. Therefore, this excessive initiative for changes is just as harmful for business sometimes, and ends just as badly for candidates as is insufficient initiative. Well, I think the situation with insufficient initiative is clear. Therefore, think very seriously about this magical thing as tempo rhythm. We had a video about tempo rhythms while in the job search process. We discussed about how we would choose a company similar in pace, 2 hours. And now you're already working and need to coordinate this pace with the company every day, as you are already in the process. You're already moving. This is the most important thing that I can draw your attention to, because all the rest will either be consequences of this thing, or they will be about different lessons that you need to learn and pass at that particular moment without putting it off to a later time. Call us for advice if you need to, but in any case, I wish you good luck and great strength so that everything works out for you at your new job, new best job, I hope, that fits your true nature. As Yoda from the Stars Wars said, may the force be with you. See you. Bye.